So one of my subscribers has asked me what it's like going from my ER6N to the Ninja 636, and I suppose this is perhaps could be a general sort of question, going from a upright sort of starter bike to a Supersport. So I'll get the obvious things out of the way. The riding position is obviously very radical, but you get used to that within a week, so that's not really a problem. Of course, some Supersports are more comfier than others. In my personal opinion, I found the 636 more comfortable than the Triumph Daytona 675. No disrespect to that bike. It's a brilliant bike, as I said in my test ride, but I just found this a little bit more comfortable. So another obvious thing is probably the fuel economy. Now this is going to vary for everyone, but in my experience, my fuel bills have gone up a little bit. Perhaps maybe a few extra quid per top up. Now, I was doing some stats on that website Fuelly, and it seems I get about 38 mpg. I don't know if that means anything to you guys, because I only started using it recently. I think I used it about a month and a half ago. And I mean, honestly, this was something I kind of factored into when I bought this bike. You know, I mean, it's a sports bike, and most of my commute is in central London, so it's not going to be the most fuel efficient bike, I'll tell you that much. But you know, that's how it is really. So on average, just a little bit more, a few more quid on my fuel bill every time I top up the tank. Seeing as I do ride this bike into the city, if there's one thing that I quite appreciate, is the fact that the size of the bike makes it very useful for filtering. Now, of course, I am not a filtering god like RJ, but you know, the narrow width of the clip-ons means you can actually fit through gaps better than how I used to on my ER6N. I mean, you just tuck in the mirrors and then away you go. That's it. Now, that is a double-edged sword. This is a sport bike after all, and its steering lock, or lack of, means that you have to sort of rethink the kind of gaps that you go through, you know, sort of the real sort of 90-degree sort of filters when you're cutting across lanes in stationary traffic. Unless there's space for me to make a nice sort of turn into it, you know, I'm not even going to bother. Something I used to do actually on my ER6N very easily, but not on this bike anymore. So, you know, it is a double-edged sword, so take that as you will, depending on how much filtering you expect to do. But, you know, down dual carriageways, if you're doing a lot of that kind of stuff, this is easy, so easy. Getting used to the power of this bike has been a very easy process. I remember when I first picked this up, I told myself, look, this is a sports bike. This bike is way faster than you will ever be able to ride it, so take it easy, you know, and just be very, very controlled with it. And one of the ways that, oh, I just ran through some horse there. One of the ways that I found it easy to do was to actually just put it in a low power mode, and it restricts the power to about 80%, and it was very nice. It was very easy to ride, and that lasted for a better part of, you know, 1 week. Went straight to full power mode, and I haven't been on low power ever since. But you know, that is something to think about when you're going from an EOS, I'll generalize it, going from a sort of a starter naked bike to a super sports bike. It is something to think about. You have all this power to use, so you know, keep that in mind, guys. But what great power it is, huh? Just going back to the lack of steering lock, this is immediately apparent to me when I started to move about the bike, just when I'm trying to park it up. You know, I have to do like an extra turn, you know, just to maneuver it into a space. It is, you know, it definitely is very noticeable from the get-go. And if there's one thing that I recommend, was that as soon as I got this bike, I think for the better part of a month, every weekend or so, I went to my local supermarket near closing time, and just did some slow maneuvers in the car park just to reacquaint myself, because it's a completely different riding position. You know, and the steering lock is different, it's less, and you kind of have to rethink how you used to ride your bike. And I suppose for my fellow city commuters, is there a better bike to do your commute in the city than a Supersport? Well, of course. I mean, this is a freaking race bike, man. It doesn't want to go slowly through traffic filtering. It wants to be knee down around, you know, Silverstone. So yeah, of course. But you know, I've only got one bike, and if I had to pick a bike, just one bike to own, to use, to commute for fun rides, I'm perfectly happy with this choice. This is an awesome bike, and I'm very happy to just cut my teeth on the Supersport bike, a Supersport 600 bike, for a few years before, you know, even considering something else. I just don't see how I can get bored of this bike, you know? And I'm saying this just as soon as I've test ridden an S1000R, so, you know, I'm jumping back on this and I'm like, yeah, amazeballs. And there are things I want to do to it. I want to take it to the track. I want to see what it's like there as well. I mean, I took my ER6N to the track and that was really nice. So I'm keen to do some of that. So yeah, this is an awesome bike to move up to. If you're considering the same choice that I did, you know, the easiest thing is to just go out and test ride some bikes. Find the bikes that you like. I mean, they're pretty much all the same anyway, right? I don't mean like, you know, like just to us mere mortals, okay? You know, if you're in that position, then, you know, you haven't that much riding experience anyway. So if you jump on any Supersport bike, they're going to feel kind of similar, you know. It just depends on what moves your soul. You know, do you want to go for a CBR? Do you want to go for a GSXR? Do you want to go for an R6? I'm not really sure if I'd be keen on an R6. So, it's just so high strung. But I'm sure some R6 owners will disagree with me there. Yeah, I wouldn't dare try and commute on an R6. Not on my commute anyway. But you can, you know, there's the 636 to consider. There is the Triumph Daytona 675R. What moves your soul? That's the question. And once you know, go test ride the bike, and then just enjoy the ride. I really do love my bike. I love my Ninja. Oh. Awesome bike. I don't think I could trade it. I'd have to take some serious consideration to actually trade this for something else. Which is why I'm not going to test ride an S1000RR. Anyways, I hope you found that useful in some shape or fashion. Any questions, just feel free to hit me up in the comments below or send me a private message. Or you can tweet me. You know, I'm doing that thing now that young kids do. I'm not posting pictures of my food though, so don't follow me on Twitter if you want to see pictures of my food, because I don't really have that much. But yeah, hope you found this useful. Ride safe, enjoy the weather, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.